Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I've got a quick update on something I reported on yesterday. So in yesterday's video, I talked about how Krafton bought Tango Gameworks and the recent announcement that Tango Gameworks Studios was rebranding to Tango Gameworks Incorporated. Anyways, here I was excited about the possibility of the evil within continuing. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case here, because Krafton bought Tango Gameworks, the studio, as well as Hi-Fi Rush, but that's it. They didn't buy those other IPs. So I could be wrong about this one. Again, I don't think I am this time though, but moving forward from Tango Gameworks, it seems that Hi-Fi Rush 2 and then whatever other IPs they develop will be their only games. It will not contain the evil within, Ghostwire Tokyo, or even Hero Dice. But moving on, and next up we're talking about PlayStation 4 emulation on the Steam Deck with Emudeck. Emudeck just got a brand new update and now contains Shad PS4, a PS4 emulator. This announcement comes right from their Discord. They say Emudeck version 2.3.5 is out. They've added Shad PS4 for PlayStation 4 emulation. Open Emudeck to get the new update and follow the instructions on how to install and play PS4 games, both on SteamOS, Linux, and Windows. Now, I don't think I need to point this one out, but at the same time, I do need to say it. Don't expect every single PS4 game to work well in Shad PS4. PS4 emulators at this point in time are still technically in their infancy. Nothing is going to work perfectly, and there are going to be a lot of issues with a lot of different games. In fact, a lot of games probably won't even work. Bloodborne does work. Does it work well? Kind of, provided you've got the right hacks involved. But at the same time here, PS4 emulators are not necessarily in a state where they're going to run everything very well and painlessly. So if you are curious about PS4 emulation and wanted to learn more about it, again, like everything I talk about, link is in the description below right at the bottom. And I do recommend checking out the Shad PS4 website, especially their compatibility list that'll tell you exactly what works and what has issues and what doesn't work. And speaking about stuff working, next up we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation with PCSX2, and this is just a heads up for people who use Flathub on Linux. So they state over on their Discord that they now have both Flathub stable and beta branches working normally at this time. This will make things a lot easier for people to pick up PCSX2 if they prefer to use Flathub. Next up here, if you're a fan of Aqua Ippan or Aqua Ippan or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, I'm not quite sure on how to properly pronounce that one. Anyways, if you're a fan of this game, it just got a very big winter update. One of the big changes here is the soundtrack. It's been entirely remade. The entire how to play screen has been reworked to make it more player friendly and actually tell them what key does what. They've added a new game selection menu, letting players choose between stage 1 and the new minigame. And a previous bug related to the select button of D-input gamepads not being detected has been fixed. Additionally here, input buffering has been added, and the jump height of the players now changes depending on how long the key jump has been held. The combo system has been made more generous. Players can now miss 2 shots before it resets. And the firing animations have been updated to reflect the fact that the spear guns are only single fire. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about the entire project, I recommend heading over to their YouTube video and taking a look at their description. They've got some very helpful links. And speaking about helpful links, next up we're talking about MAME for Droid 2024. I'm wondering if they're going to change that to 2025 given the fact that we're now in 2025. Anyways, on the Google Play Store, the latest update is version 0.272, which is outdated. So if you head on over to GitHub, the latest version is here, MAME for Droid 2025. They upped it from 2024. And it's version 0.273, up from 272. So this is the latest and greatest version of MAME for Droid, which is based on MAME here. And I'm assuming the Google Play one will get updated. I just don't know when. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. If you're looking for the latest and greatest version of MAME for Droid, you might want to check out their GitHub. And speaking about GitHub, next up we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with not Win Now, but Win Later. And Win Later just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Win Later version 9.0 is the latest update, and this is the first update since the end of September. This update introduces something very interesting. It adds a new graphics driver, Vortec. They do say it's experimental. It may not work as anticipated. It may be broken for certain games. It may not be compatible with certain devices. On top of that, they've added an option to install components, Box64, Turnip, and DXVK. They've improved ALSA plugin. They've improved Force Full Screen option, useful for low-resolution games. They've updated Box64. They've added a workaround for Ghost Song. And there's performance improvements on X server and other fixes. Moving on, and we're talking about something that's a little bit controversial. A lot of people seem to be talking about it, and there's a lot of mixed reactions. So over on VGC, they're reporting, and this has been translated from IGN Japan, Elden Ring Nightreign is removing one of Soul's best loved features. So the game director says you can still see the ghosts of other players, but the ability to leave messages has been removed. The reason we remove the message feature is that in-game, where each session is about 40 minutes long, there is no time to write your own message, and no time to read messages written by others. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. Did you care about writing messages? Did you read messages from other people? Now, on top of that, there's also a potential other change here that's generating a ton of conversation. So they say foes defeated in battle won't respawn when the player rests at a site of grace. Let me know your thoughts about that one. Does that make the game easier? Is that a nice quality of life feature? I'd love to hear what you think. Next up, we're talking about a new and interesting ROM hack for The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. It's called The Legend of Zelda: The Hunter's Song. In this ROM hack, you play as Old Man Link. He's got a white beard. My beard's starting to go white. Anyways, here they say, take courage, experience Link with a voice, stripped of sword and youth, and rely on wisdom. They say there's new sprites, 3 new dungeons, a white beard, a cute little Minish garbed in full armor, Picasso's Peace Dove, a buzzing hero, and a Capra Hercus. Super interesting. Anyways, here the information is on romhacking.net, which is still up but just doesn't host ROM hacks anymore. And on a quick side note here, a Capra Hercus appears to be a domestic goat. I had to use Wikipedia for that one. Next up here, if you're a fan of preservation, Call of Duty 2, Big Red One, or possibly older music, you may be a fan of this. It turns out that rare promo albums of Call of Duty 2 and Big Red One with never heard before tracks were uploaded to the internet for the first time, and they're both on YouTube. Taking a look at the comments here, and someone says, I like this old intro better, not gonna lie. And the person who posted it says, I like that the devs tried to sync OST drums and in-game bomb explosions. However, it's barely noticeable in the final mix. Next up, we're talking about NVIDIA. Now, we've talked about the upcoming RTX 5080 and 5090 in previous videos. Performance of these cars is reportedly going to be very good, but they're also going to be very expensive, and it turns out they may be more expensive than we initially thought, which was arguably super expensive. So one of the variants here was listed for €1699. That's euro, right? Yeah, euro. And that equals a little over 1,700 USD. Now, it's worth pointing out there will be different variants of the 5080 out there. There may be some cheaper ones, maybe some more expensive ones, but at the same time here, 1,700 bucks is, well, that's a whole heck of a lot. And that's just the 5080. That's not even the 5090. The 5090 is probably going to be a lot more expensive than that. But who knows here? I mean, NVIDIA will be releasing MSRP. It's being reported as early as next week for these cards. If it's anywhere in this ballpark, it makes, to me, the B570 and B580 from Intel a lot more attractive, and also makes AMD cards a lot more attractive. Pricing like this, to me, is darn near inaccessible for a whole lot of people. I mean, when you've got a GPU that probably costs more than your whole PC setup. And speaking about PC stuff, next up here, we're talking about Need for Speed Underground 2. If you were a fan of this game, if you are a fan of this game, you may be excited to know that someone has remade part of this game in Unreal Engine 5. So there's a 20-minute video showcasing this game in action over on YouTube, and again, like everything I talk about, link is in the description below at the bottom. I do recommend checking out this video. To me, the game is absolutely gorgeous. On top of that, the demo is available via their Discord. Everything you need is in the description of that video to learn more about it. And I'm curious here to see if they go further and try to implement the entire game. Let me know what you think about this one. I mean, Need for Speed Underground 2 is a great game. I love the game and I may be interested in checking it out in Unreal Engine 5 or just possibly applying some texture packs to the older game to make it look better. Texture packs for Need for Speed Underground 2 are available over on Nexus Mods, and I would say they do a very good job of making the game look real good as well. And speaking about YouTube videos and stuff recreated in an entirely different engine, next up here we're talking about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but in Minecraft. And a team of people have recreated all of Breath of the Wild in Minecraft, and it is available for download. The YouTube video for this one showing the entire creation story is over an hour long. It's an hour and 24 minutes long. I do recommend at least watching the YouTube video or part of it to understand what kind of effort went into this project. And given the fact that it's being able to be downloaded for everybody is amazing. This whole project is pretty darn awesome. And continuing to talk about fan projects available for download, next up we're talking about Half-Life 2 Episode 3 Interlude. Now we had talked about this one a while back. Anyways, here it is now out, the demo at least. You can download it and check it out, and it looks really good. So the video of this mod showcasing it in action is about 14 minutes long, and it'll give you a very good idea of what exactly to expect. Now, it is just a demo. However, in the description of that video, there's links to basically everything you need. And like everything we talk about, link to this video will be in the description below. And speaking about mods, next up we're shifting to Homebrew and talking about the Game Boy Advance Winter Jam 2025, the Edition. So like basically all other game jams, developers will bring their games forward, submit them, and yes, you can play them. There are themes to these, and this one is very interesting. They say you have 2 months to bring back a GBA game you've made in the past and release an update for it. So if you've got a GBA homebrew game that you really like, there may be a chance it gets an update. The Homebrew Jam goes until February 28th of this year. Next up here, if you like to drink hot beverages while you game and you keep them around long enough that they cool off before you finish them, well, you might be excited to know that there's brand new technology here that keeps your drink warm. So they say here this gaming controller mug keeps your drink warm and has a trigger so you can sip and shoot at the same time. In my opinion here, this is stupid and awesome at the exact same time. I don't know if this is going to cost a whole lot. I don't know when it's going on sale. I don't know how many of these they're going to make, and I don't know if this is just a joke. But they do say there's an accelerometer and a gyroscope. I mean, okie dokie. Not gonna lie here, if this was April Fool's, I would completely believe it. I mean, if I wanted to keep a drink warm, I'd just have a Yeti beside me because that'll keep my drink warm for like 12 hours or even more than that. Anyways, it's a very weird concept. I don't know how practical this is going to be. I don't know how accurate it's going to be. And well, I don't know how many people would actually use something like this. Well, let me know what you think of it. And last up here, if you're a fan of Celeste, if you're a fan of the Sega Dreamcast, you may be excited to know that someone has ported Celeste to the Dreamcast. The project is over on GitHub. It's 100% free and open source. And it's a portable Celeste Classic C source port for the Sega Dreamcast. It is worth pointing out that this source port is not perfect just yet. They say the sound sometimes crackles and the music does not loop exactly. But version 1.0.1 is up on GitHub, and this is the very first release of this. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, and well, get some fresh air, go outside and touch some grass.